So last hour, I wanted to do a demonstration here, and then the one later. We have about 3 more things, and then we're going to go into the what exactly we would be covering during the exam. Hold on, I'm trying to use a Mac, and it's not working real well. I'm looking for one particular slide. Mac. So meanwhile, while it's busy trying to find that slide, we'll do this. Diane had a question about her here. Stand up in the middle. She said that she and her friend did this on each other, and she flunked. So we were just trying to see whether she needed anything or not. Now she already wears glasses, so look. Close your eyes, touch. It's real close. And then open your eyes and look. Close your eyes and touch. And again, really, really close, but not precise. Let me see your glasses for a minute. So we'll take these. And then let's try a couple of things here. So we got one thing here. Here. Okay, so we're going to try this with you first to see what happens. You ready? Look, close. Better. That's neat. Look here, close, touch.
That plus?
No, it's a cylinder. So that worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
How'd you do that, though? Now we're going to try. And just close your eyes, touch the bell. Again, really close. Close your eyes. Not too bad. Close your eyes again. It's really close, but it's not accurate. What if I put this on? Close your eyes. See the difference? Now, what if I turn it upside down? Close your eyes. It's sort of like the same as before. The others. Just a second.
It's interesting how they always miss in the same way. Like she's in the middle, but slightly under it when she misses.
That's how she perceives the space.
And then you can just.
Here, we're going to put this is the opposite way. This is the opposite way, and I'm going to put blue on top of it. So the lens is wrong, but I'm putting blue on top of it. Close your eyes. That's even worse. Now the lens is wrong, but I'm putting yellow. That's no good. Now we put the lens that's correct, and we put the blue. So now I've changed the lens in the back. Close your eyes. See, she's good. And we put the yellow. Close your eyes. There. So if the lens is correct, then she can withstand blue or yellow. If the lens is wrong, the blue and yellow really mess her up. So we use this as part of the testing. So the answer is you just need a little tweak to your glasses. You should be fine. So by now, you've got the concept that you have your plain eyes for seeing, right? Taking in information. That's your classic. And then seeing is different than visual processing. So sometimes you can see, but you can't process. And then you have the mind-eye connection, which addresses a whole bunch of different visual systems and a lot of processing pathways connected to the eyes. So I'm trying to find those slides. I'm trying to find the other slide. So what we're looking for when we do these exams, what we're looking for in the patients is how much energy are they taking, what kind of priority are they ranking things, and what kind of ability do they have, because everybody's different. So we talked about how you have the retina, which is a piece of your brain sitting there, getting information from the outside world. But what do you filter it in? What do you pay attention to? Everybody pays attention to something different. And then emotionally, everybody is different. So the perceived ability, if you say, I don't know, so I guess I can't, you're not going to try. The example I use is my mother and I went to a birthday party once, and we got to the address we were supposed to go to, and the door was locked. So she immediately said, must be the wrong place. You wrote down the wrong address. And that's the end of that. You know, the door is locked, we're stuck. And my thoughts are, well, we were in a hallway, the door was locked, let's see if there's another door. Let's expand our awareness and look around, and oh, there's 6 other doors because it's a hallway, sort of in a building like this. And let's see if another door isn't locked. And it turned out the party was in one of the other doors. But because she got to the locked door on the address we had, she immediately made the decision, we're stuck. So you can have an emotional response or you can have a logical response. Different person. So we look at, are you logical, are you emotional? Are you the priority ranking? If you don't think you need to do something, you're not going to do it. I've got a sore back. Something was way down in the bottom there. Then I was like, do I really need that or not really? If I don't really, really need it, I'm not going to bother picking it up. If I had to have it, like when this piece of equipment dropped, I did bend down and pick it up. So you make decisions on whether to move your body, move your eyes, move your head, based on what you think is needed, and on the comfort. So there's a lot of decision-making going on at a subconscious level, beneath the conscious level, that ends up giving you the final action that we're looking to. And to drum it in you yet again, the standard exam, they test peripheral, because when I give speeches, I get doctors saying, wait, we test peripheral eyesight, and I get patients saying, my doctor checked my kid for peripheral eyesight. But they're testing, does it exist, not how it's used. So for instance, if you're in sports, you need control of your body, and it requires peripheral vision to guide your movement. But you're not moving your body in a regular eye exam, and it doesn't address head position changes as your weight shifts around. If you're in other sports, you need peripheral judgments to judge where a ball is. But the eye exams work with stationary targets, not moving targets, not reaction time. And it has the people seated like we talked before. So we had this before, that there's visual parts for outside information and non-visual parts for inside information. And the eyes aren't isolated. They're one part of a much bigger system. So after brain injury or after being diagnosed with autism, the adaptation to change is just harder. So here's what we were drawing. You got your mind and your body and the environment. And then we talked about having a target and putting attention. So you have attention and awareness. But the awareness shrinks and shrinks more. So you got 2 different kinds of people. Those who can pay attention and maintain awareness, and those who are zooming their attention in and shrinking their awareness. People with autism tend to be that second one, where they're just oblivious to everything around them, even though it's there. You can tune it out. So that tuning out ability is usually invoked when people think things are boring. So you get it with little kids all the time. These little kids are playing on their phones. They don't care about what their parents are talking to me about, unless it's about them. But they're just tuned out completely, or they're watching TV, or they're just tuned out. They shut off the peripheral awareness for their ears and for their eyes. So it's important when we measure that. Now, we go back to the original one. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. That's Henry David Thoreau. And it says Al Sutton quoted Thoreau frequently. And Al Sutton was my mentor. He's an optometrist who learned straight from Skeffington, the guy who invented all this. And Al Sutton's work constantly talked about adaptability. And it took me years of listening to him to understand it's not that you see it or you don't see it, it's how well you adapt and how flexible your adaptive system is. So you find it like if you're in the shower. If the shower is too hot and you don't adapt, and you say, oh, it's too hot, you go make it colder. But then if it's too cold, then it's too cold and you shiver and you make it warmer. If there's no particular spot except one spot that you're comfortable in, then it's not going to be fun to take a shower. If you can adapt over a 2 or 3 degree change in water, you're going to have a blast. Or for a swimming pool, if you're adapting to the change in temperature easily, if it's warm, no big deal. If it's cold, no big deal. Then you can take your mind off of things and put it on something else. But if your attention is always drawn to how uncomfortable you are, and you're always shifting, you get it with fidgety kids. I'm not comfortable sitting this way. I have to sit this way. No, that's not comfortable. I have to shift this way. And they wiggle. They're not comfortable. Something's wrong with the body processes. So Al Sutton taught me over and over, look at your patient's flexibility, because sometimes, especially like with the ABM stuff, they don't have flexibility. It's learn it this way, and this is the way you do it. So the flexibility of your adaptability, how well you adapt, is a measurement of intelligence. That's what he used to say, and that was also Henry David Thoreau's phrase. And we're going to skip over to here. I'm going to show you some brain function stuff here. Here. Electrical activity was changed from wearing glasses. This actually is Clark Elliott, the man who wrote this book. This is his brain. He went to a doctor who did an EEG work, and the red is bad. The red means he's more than 3 standard deviations away from normal. White would be perfectly normal, and then the rest of the pale ones are close to normal. So he was close to normal except in these 2 areas. Now we put glasses on him, and it went to what it was with the lenses. It was an immediate change in brain function. Instant. So he's not all better, but he's a lot better. Now we had another patient who was like this, who had a lot of red, and then instantly was almost perfect. That's a person who had depression, and we put them on. So we had these patients that were getting so much different electrical activity in their brain from instant changes. So we published in a journal called Neurophotonics. And it was EEG work plus neuro-optometry, a case study exploring changes in the electrical systems in your brain while you're wearing glasses. And there's another example. The red spots are bad and they disappeared immediately. So it was kind of neat that the electrical system on your scalp changes the minute you put glasses on because you're altering brain function. So what we're going to be doing in the examinations is checking your child or yourself comfort ranges. How comfortable are you when we make things too clear? How comfortable are you if we make things too close? How comfortable are you when you're trying to walk around?
And how are you measuring that with the nonverbal kiddos?
And she's saying, how are we measuring that with nonverbal kids? Well, people select when to expend effort. So we watch real carefully. So if you want to come up, you could do this and be nonverbal, and we'll see what happens.
Also, might not follow any verbal directions, though. That's another one
Okay.
that I wonder about for my kid.
Well, you don't have any verbal directions. Just walk.
If I could just point out, one of the assumptions here is that the person is competent.
Just walk. So if your kid can, and then come back. So watch her. Okay. So what I watched her do was stumble a little bit, watching her arms and watching her legs. I watched her reaction when she went, oh. So I don't need conscious words from her. Go walk. Come back. See how she looks kind of drunk?
Yeah.
So she's asking, her question was, well, how am I going to get this out of a nonverbal person? Well, this tells me when I bend the light that way, she's way worse than when I bend it this way. But neither of them is very good because both of them made her stumble. There's another way.
She adapted better the first time, though.
She was better the first time,
She
but not.
adapted.
I mean, her what?
She adapted more.
She adapted more easily the first time. Come back. So she's not stumbling, but watch what her arms are doing. Who noticed something different in her arms?
They were more relaxed, but they were almost braced.
They were braced, but actually just her right arm was braced. The left arm was busy going like this. Do you know you did that? Why'd you do that?
I don't know, because I felt a little better, but still kind of.
But you didn't give me any verbal cues. You're asking how I can do a nonverbal person.
Right.
So if I put a bunch of these on, and one of them you just walked like this, and the other one you're like this, then it tells me what's comfortable, what's not comfortable without you saying anything. So now we double check. We double check with this. And then I said we would go into sensory systems being dominant. Thanks. Face down. Now this is the arm that was swinging, so I'm going to have her use this arm. Look here. Close your eyes and touch. Close. Open and look. Close and touch. Close. Now for her, we're going to do something different. We're going to tip her chin down just a little bit. Look, close, touch. And then look here, close and touch. So it works on this side, but not quite on that side. So we need a spot on this side to put a lens on. And then look here, keep your chin tipped down just a little bit. Look, close, touch. That made it a whole lot worse.
Is that base up?
No, that was 0.12. Close and touch. Not quite. And she can't take a prism, I don't believe. But she might need a color. We're going to start with this first. That's getting more to what we need. So now we need one more step. There we go. So now we have to do it again here. Not quite. I'm going to put a color in. Actually, we'll do something a little different. So we're going to put both her eyes first, and then we'll try the color after. Here, it's real close. So if I were working on her, see if I were to put this on both eyes. Let's see if that makes it. Close. Much better. There we go. Look, close. Much better. Okay, so I don't need the color. So what this is, Mary, for what's your name? Alicia is plus a quarter on the right, minus an eighth. And on the left is plus an eighth, and both are with the rule. So
no still on the left eye, just on the right eye.
I had it just on the right eye, but then it didn't work, so I put it now. It's on both eyes.
Both eyes
So the
still?
cylinder is on OU, and it's a quarter plus and an eighth plus. No prism. So now let's see what happens with the sounds. Since she came here and she said, and I'm not going to follow verbal directions. Close your eyes. Touch the bell. Let's see what happens if we put these glasses on. Close your eyes. How did you do that? They're watching. I didn't change anything. Close your eyes. Close. Keep them closed. Eyes closed again. hard. Close your eyes again. Let's try one thing here. I'm going to just show you here. Not too bad. This one, here's how sensitive she is, because what happened there is this one tilted down a little bit, and it's supposed to be straight. So watch the difference. If it's straight, did pretty good there. And if I tilt it down just a bit, so it's not very much.
So again, if they make the glasses wrong, because it's so tiny amount, it can be critical.
Yeah, it is very critical. So anyway, in answer to your question of, how would I do nonverbal? I don't need verbal. I need reactions to just measure. So people select when to expend effort. So for instance, you watch somebody lugging a suitcase. If you watch the old-fashioned movies in the 1930s, 40s, 50s, they have comedies, and you'll see like the high society person coming with all these suitcases, and the busboy, not the busboy, the pullman, the bellboy, sorry, carrying all of the suitcases. In 1970, somebody patented the concept of having wheels on a suitcase. In 1819, so 150 years before, somebody patented roller skates. All you had to do was take a roller skate on the bottom of a suitcase and stick a nail in it and a handle. It's not like inventing an iPhone or a computer. It's just putting a skate on the bottom of a suitcase so you could roll it along. They had wagons, little tiny red wagons. So why did it take 150 years for somebody to realize that you could put a wheel on a suitcase? They flew an astronaut to the moon before they figured out how to put a suitcase with a wheel on it.
The need wasn't great enough.
The need was great. They didn't think of it. So I'm thinking the same thing's going to happen, but hopefully it won't be 150 years. The eye test and the ear tests have got to be combined, because when you read, that's what you're doing. You're combining your eyes and your ears. So you're doing a disservice if you are not measuring a combination of eyes and ears together. And if you're not realizing that eyeglasses mess up ears or make them better. So many kids, the one who talked to me and said, my child's pulling off their glasses, will they wear a different glasses? That was you? Or is that someone? Yeah. Why, if you don't know if the glasses they're pulling off totally messes up their hearing? They're listening.
He's never had glasses. I was just imagining him not.
Oh, you didn't even know that he would do it.
Yeah.
Oh. You're just imagining that.
Yeah.
Well, so you don't have any. Typically, if a person is comfortable, they don't pull it off.
Yeah, he won't have a hat,
which is a
or
way
a
of a nonverbal person,
or anything like it. Yeah,
it's one way of having a nonverbal person be able to tell you.
In response to that, my
I'm just
glass.
realizing that when John goes to sleep, he has his glasses on, and I'm taking them off at night, and maybe I should just.
He'll sleep
Let him
differently.
take them off.
Well, he'll sleep differently if you take them off.
Wow. He'll sleep differently if I so that might help him sleep, where otherwise.
Well, again, as an optometrist, I can't say that. I can only say I have patients who've told me that when they sleep with their glasses on, they feel different.
Wow.
And we have one kid who was funny because his mother came in his bedroom when he was like going to bed, and he was listening to books on tape. And she said, "What are you wearing your glasses for? It's the radio's playing at the other end of the room, and you're in your bed, and it's dark. You don't need your glasses." And he said because he could hear the sounds, he heard the story better with the glasses on than with it off. So, yeah, they do something, because the second point is that even when your eyes are closed, which is during sleep, there's stuff working. So when the light is bent a different way, it's activating different cells.
Here's an example. You asked me where my glasses were. My glasses are here.
Yeah, but they're not on.
When I go home after I've driven and I can see to drive home, they go on the table. But my burning desire is to put those glasses back on because I felt more stable.
Yeah, she wants the glasses that made her feel comfortable on the inside,
That's the truth.
not the glasses that make her see better on the outside, because she doesn't care about seeing the little labels on the bottles way over there. She cares about feeling comfortable.
And she hears better too.
And and she hears better too. Yeah.
Debbie, could you share? You mentioned, I'm curious. You know how intelligent you are, and you said you couldn't read, and you didn't discover till you were 40.
Yeah.
I mean, you survived. Obviously, you went to school.
I traded my classes with other people. They all read for me.
But still, what was your turning point in connecting your ears and your eyes then?
For me, I was reading a lot of scientific journals. What happened is I started reading scientific journals, which were way too hard for me to read. And so it would be like something that said, we added blah, 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 blah into a mouse in a group of mice. And then we did blah, 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 blah into some other group of mice. And then we measured blah, blah, blah that I didn't understand. And group A survived and group B died. So therefore, we conclude that whatever we injected into group A was a better thing than group B or something like that. So I had to read lots and lots and lots of scientific articles like that. And most of it, I had no idea what I was reading. So you had to learn to read a different way to get the gist of it. And I couldn't read word by word anymore because I didn't know what half the words meant. And so reading that way made me read a new way in English.
But it wasn't like typically when we think of it as a behavioral optometrist, we think either your eyes weren't coordinated, they weren't teaming, they weren't focusing, there wasn't a sustainability.
Right.
Because math is more instantaneous, where reading is continuous. So it wasn't anything your classmates found that was wrong with you visually.
Right. No, I have nothing. I
No
mean, I have
performance
astigmatism visually, but I'm not wearing glasses. That's not the.
It wasn't an eyesight problem, but it wasn't also. It wasn't even a visual function problem.
Nope.
It was something in the processing. It's in the processing.
Well, no, my eye movements are not real great. So if you did an eye movement thing, they're not really, really well. But that's not what was hindering me because they're still not. The eye movement testing isn't interesting, so I'll do it, but I won't put full effort into it. And reading, if it's not interesting, I won't put full effort into it. But if it's something that I was interested in and wanted to get, then I skimmed for content, for the where's the effort. And when you skim, you use your peripheral eyesight in a different way. So I learned that different way, and then it transferred to my regular reading. And then I had to do writing. And in order to write, I was a horrible essay writer all through school. You know, somebody would say we need 500 words on this, and it was like, 500 words? Well, how am I ever going to do that? Unbelievable. Now, it's like I'm writing 6,000 word papers, and it's no big deal, because now I'm just taking a bunch of ideas, throwing them on a paper, and then embellishing them and organizing them makes it easy. So it's really the perceptual concept of, I have concepts and details. Even here for the 3 hours, it's 1 hour, I want to get basic information and get you to understand the eyes are not just a seeing mechanism, they're your brain. And that if you were to measure any part of your brain at any given moment, some's activated and some isn't. And in the eye, it's the same thing. Sometimes things are active and sometimes they're not. But in autism, it's neat because parts of the eye are activated and parts aren't in ways that it isn't normal. And so in an autistic patient, the top will be activated, not the bottom, the side, but not the other side. And whereas in a neurotypical person, the whole periphery might be activated or shrunk or expanded, but it's not where pieces are open. And I think that has to do with a lot of psychiatric problems too. But again, that's out of the field of optometry. So these are the types of things that we're testing. We're testing the environment, the body, and the mind. So we showed before a couple of times the mind, body, environment. In the body, we're testing for isolated control of movement. So you have a patient, you have one of these nonverbal people, and we're going to be testing like this. This is what the tests will be. We'll have the ball moving around. I'll watch their eye movement. Do they move where their whole head moves? Do they move where their whole body moves? Or do they just move their eyes? Can they hit it? Do they hit just with one hand? Can they hit with both hands? Is it comfortable where one hand slams it perfectly and the other hand is kind of off? So I don't need verbal cues. I can do this without verbal cues. Surroundings, how they judge time and space. If they're judging this ball, can they do this? Or they're judging in time. Can they do that while doing something else? And then thinking. We have a lot of thinking games. There's just all kinds of things you can do with kids. Even if they're in wheelchairs, even if they're nonverbal, plenty of things. So one thing that's kind of neat is we talked so much already about the peripheral retina. What about memory? It's linked to the peripheral retina. Orientation, motor planning, attention, sensory integration, all of those are linked with the peripheral retina. Sleep is also linked with the peripheral retina. Hunger, there's some really neat stuff now on animals and night and hunger, that when animals wake up at night, like a raccoon, they wake up and they're hungry, so they go walking around the forest to find food. So there's a linkage between hunger and movement and light. So when the light comes out, the animals get sleepy and go to sleep. Now humans are the opposite. When the light comes on, they wake up. When the light goes off, they go to sleep. So how come in the daytime if you get hungry if you go 3-4 hours without eating, but at night you go 8 or 10 hours without eating and you're not hungry? And that's because of the lack of movement. So there's really neat linkages between how your body moves, how you feel about hunger, and the peripheral retina, which responds to the light that's coming in. So there's just so much. So I wanted to recap what we started with. The eye is connected to a lot. Hopefully you can walk away with that. Even when your eyes are closed, there's electrical and chemical activity going on. The eyes dominate the other sensory systems. Let's try that with John Streps' example. Let me have somebody come up. Do you want to come up since you're right there? Okay. What's your name?
Babby.
Babby? Yes. We're going to put this on her. Let me make sure it goes on the right way. Okay. Here. And then if you look at this edge here, you look at the edge here. This is John Streps' example. You see the edge? Mm-hmm. Okay. Is it straight or is it curved? Curved. Okay. She perceives it as curved because these glasses make it curved. Now take your left hand and put it like this here on this, and then follow your hand with your eyes and watch it. When you feel it, does it feel curved? No. Okay. So she's saying when she watches her hand and her eyes, she's feeling a curve, she's seeing a curve, right? Now take your eyes and look at the pen here, but make your hand go up and down. Put your hand here, but look here and don't look at your hand. Now does it feel curved or no?
Slanted.
Slanted, so angled?
Angled in.
Angled in. But if you're looking, like, now what if you look up here and do that with your hand down there?
No, straight.
No, straight. So what she said is if she's looking way up and she puts her hand here, the thing feels straight. If she's looking here and puts her hand, it feels slanted this way. But if she follows her hand with her eyes, she feels the curve that her eyes see. So you have two inputs coming in. One is coming in from the edge on her hand here, and the other one is coming in through her eyes. Her eyes are dominating. Where she, now we're going to do this with your shoulders. This is what I didn't have earlier, and then you brought the one, but this is one I needed. Okay, don't move. Don't move.
Yep, I got that. Won't be doing that.
Where's your wastebasket?
Okay, what?
Where's your wastebasket?
So now, to do this, touch these together like that. You hold the pens.
Oh.
There you go. Make them touch together. There you go. Now, don't move. Freeze. Okay. See what you did? So what happened is one of her shoulders is higher up and the other one is lower down. And
This is my higher.
yeah, that's the higher one. And she thought she was judging properly because her shoulders are sending her information through the muscles saying up and down, but her eyes were telling her it was lined up properly. So again, your eyes dominated. So my point, eyes dominate the other sensory systems. I just wanted to show that. So, thank you, Babby. So we got this what, when, how, who. So what are you supposed to look for? People who aren't responding to procedures or medicine, they're not getting better. They're just not interacting with their environment well enough. when should you refer when the treatment, it really should say treatment rather than medications, when it isn't working, when the patient seems normal to the doctors, yet symptoms persist. Now, the other lady who left, she's in the back? No, she's not. She left. She was talking about how she took her child to the doctor over and over and over, and the doctors kept saying the kid was normal. The eyes worked, the ears worked, the body worked, everything worked. Yet the symptoms were presenting, and the parent kept saying, but something's wrong. I can see something's wrong. They're not acting normally. And that's when you should refer to a neuro-optometrist. How do you start relationships with optometrists, physical therapists, occupational therapists? That's what Mary can help you with, Mary Van Hoy here. And who to refer to, a Mind-Eye certified practitioner, somebody who's really getting how all of this links together. So I want to thank you for having me here. This is what I got lucky, to do what I love, to do what I'm good at, which is math puzzles, to do something that the world needs and something you can get paid for, because if you don't get paid, you can't live. But to link your passion with your mission, with your profession, with your vocation, then you have a purpose in life. I saw that on Facebook, and I thought, that's me, because I have a purpose in life, and I'm passionate about helping people, and it's important that people start realizing that 2020 should really be left in the 20th century. It's an old, archaic way of doing something, but because that's the only way we've been doing for 150 years, that's the way everybody learns. So if you had any questions, let me know, and I appreciate you taking your time. We didn't have a whole lot of time, so if there's some questions that aren't covered, like the police officer's one, you can schedule something to Mind-Eye Connection. You could actually write to info@mindeyeworkshops.com.